think about that one thing. You know exactly what it is. It's that project you've been meaning to start for months. Maybe it's a book you want to write. Maybe it's a business you want to launch. Maybe it's a fitness journey, a new skill, or a creative hobby like painting or making music. Every morning you tell yourself, today is the day. You feel a spark of excitement. You imagine how great it will feel when it's finished. But then something happens. You sit down to work and suddenly the kitchen needs cleaning. You remember an email you forgot to send. You decide you need to do just 5 minutes of research on YouTube, and 2 hours later you're watching a documentary on deep-sea creatures. By the time evening rolls around, that spark is gone. You feel guilty. You feel like a failure. And you say that magical, dangerous word, tomorrow. I'll start tomorrow when I have more energy. I'll start tomorrow when I'm more inspired. I'll start tomorrow when the conditions are perfect. If this sounds familiar, I want you to tell you something very important. You are not lazy. You do not have a character flaw. And you are definitely not alone. What you are experiencing is a universal human phenomenon. You are currently in a state of war, but the enemy isn't your boss, your schedule, or your phone. The enemy is inside you. In the world of creativity and self-improvement, this enemy has a name. It is called resistance. Resistance is the most toxic force on the planet. It is the root of more unhappiness than poverty or disease. To yield to resistance deforms our spirit. It prevents us from becoming who we were born to be. Resistance is like a magnetic force that pushes you away from any task that involves long-term growth, health, or integrity. It loves the immediate and hates the essential. It wants you to eat the donut now instead of having the healthy body later. It wants you to scroll social media now instead of building your dream later. But here is the trick. Resistance is invisible. It doesn't show up as a monster with fangs. It shows up as rational thought. It speaks to you in your own voice. It tells you that you aren't ready. It tells you that your idea isn't original. It tells you you need more equipment, more money, or more degrees before you can begin. Resistance is especially powerful when you are close to a breakthrough. The more important a project is to your soul's evolution, the more resistance you will feel toward doing it. If you didn't care about the project, you wouldn't feel any resistance at all. So, in a strange way, the fear and procrastination you feel are actually a compass. They are pointing exactly toward the work you must do. So, how do we fight an enemy that lives in our own head? How does a fuzzy monster like me, or a person like you, win the war against tomorrow? The first step is to realize that resistance cannot be cured. You don't wait for it to go away before you start. It never goes away. Even the most successful authors, artists, and entrepreneurs in the world feel resistance every single morning. The difference between them and everyone else is how they handle it. Most people approach their work as amateurs. An amateur plays for fun. An amateur waits for inspiration to strike. If the amateur feels tired, they quit. If the amateur feels scared, they retreat. The amateur thinks that work should be easy, and if it's hard, something must be wrong. To defeat resistance, you must turn pro. A professional doesn't wait for inspiration. They show up at 9 a.m. regardless of how they feel. A professional understands that the work isn't just the painting or the writing. The work is the act of sitting in the chair. The professional knows that once they commit to the act of working, the muses or the inspiration will eventually show up to help. But the inspiration only shows up after the work has started, not before. Think about a professional athlete. Do they only show up to practice when they feel motivated? No, they show up because it's their job. They show up because they're pros. Turning pro is a mental shift. It means you stop treating your dreams like a hobby and start treating them like a life or death mission. It means you accept that resistance will be there every morning, waiting for you at your desk, and you decide that you are going to sit there anyway. Resistance hates it when you turn pro. Resistance feeds on your hesitation. It feeds on your excuses. When you stop making excuses and just do the work, resistance begins to lose its power. There is another secret weapon in this war: the love of the craft. Resistance is fueled by fear: fear of failure, fear of success, fear of what others will think. But love is the antidote to fear. When you focus on the joy of the process, the feeling of the brush on the canvas, the sound of the keys clicking, the puzzle solving of a difficult problem, you move into a state where resistance can't follow. You have to do the work for its own sake, not for the applause, not for the money, and not for the fame. If you do it for the external rewards, resistance will use those things to torture you. It will make you worry about the critics or the market. But if you do the work because it is your task in this life, you become untouchable. Imagine your life as a series of moments. Right now, in this moment, you have a choice. You can listen to the voice of resistance telling you why you should wait, or you can act. You don't need to finish the project today. You just need to defeat resistance for the next hour. The war is won in the small, daily battles. Every time you sit down to work despite your fear, you win. Every time you say no to a distraction and yes to your soul, you win. If you feel like you've been losing this war, if you feel like your potential is being strangled by your own procrastination, I want you to know that the battle is not over. As long as you are breathing, you can choose to turn pro. You can choose to face the monster. The philosophy I'm sharing today comes from a book that is essentially a field manual for anyone trying to create anything of value. It is the creativity Bible for thousands of professionals. The book is called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. It is a short, punchy, and incredibly intense book. It doesn't use soft language. It treats creativity like a battle. It defines exactly what resistance is, how it operates, and how to crush it. It breaks down the difference between the amateur and the professional in a way that will make you want to jump out of your chair and get to work immediately. Steven Pressfield reminds us that we all have two lives: the life we live and the unlived life within us. Between the two stands resistance. If you have a dream that keeps you up at night, or if you feel a sense of unlived life inside you, you owe it to yourself to read this book. It will give you the language to understand your own struggle and the tools to overcome it. Don't let resistance win. Don't let your unlived life stay inside you forever. The world needs what you have to give. It doesn't matter if it's perfect. It only matters that it exists. I'm Eve, and I'm going to go sit at my desk now. I hope you do the same. If this video helped you understand your own struggle with tomorrow, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Let's build a community of professionals who show up and do the work. And if you're battling resistance right now, tell me about it in the comments. Let's acknowledge the enemy together. I'll see you in the next one.